Hey, JC.
Hey, Brad, somebody's got something going on that's making an awful lot of noise.
Okay. There we go.
Here we go.
All right. Can you hear me, Lorraine? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay. Yeah, I every now and then I'll sign in and it'll say check my speaker, which implies that it's not working, but it always is. So I always ask though.
It was before you even signed on.
Oh no, I'm talking about something different.
Okay.
Yeah, I think someone was on a landline or something like that. So we're all good.
Okay.
Good. All right, so we are straight up at 1 o'clock. So let's go ahead and get started. There's a lot to cover today. Before we turn it over, or before I kind of launch into the training content for today, I'm going to turn over to JC real quick, our in-house lender with White Rock Lending Services. And JC, you have the floor to tell the folks whatever you want to tell them.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everyone's doing great. First of all, I want to start off by thanking those real estate agents that are continuously sending business this way. We are definitely making progress and closing some deals. So thank you. I did make a few notes here that I wanted to mention. Desktop underwriting is a little bit tougher. So, we have to tweak things a little bit more. And for lack of a better word, sometimes fudge the numbers, right, in order to make it work. Now, what I mean by fudge the numbers, I mean if someone only has $5,000 saved up. But if I put $6,000 in their account, and then I may get a desktop underwriting approval. And sometimes it's a little tweak that will do that. So, and the reason I do that is that way we at least know, hey, you know what, I can't do it with $5,000, but we can at least do it with $6,000, and it puts a plan in place. So the other thing I do wanted to mention is, I mean, we are, as you guys know, with the rate volatility, it's going to continue. We are at about 7% right now for a good, strong buyer. Don't give up, though. Do not give up. Those buyers do exist. The apps are coming in. The buyers are interested. We just need to find them. And a lot of times it's a matter of getting creative and having those conversations, because you know, everybody wants to be either a homeowner or a landlord. It's just a matter of having that conversation with them and figuring out how we can accomplish that. But other than that, we're like I said, we're staying strong. The applications are coming in. We are closing loans, definitely more than we did in November, December. And shoot, we're only in March. So April, May, June, I can't wait. Does anyone have any questions in regards to anything in regards to lending? All right.
Oh, all right. JC, thank you so much. So I didn't really plan to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because JC reminded me of something. So just as an FYI, so JC is White Rock Lending Services. I mean, he is our sole dedicated loan officer. And so I don't know if, you know, many of you understand exactly what the process is from start to finish. But so the loan officers that we once had have decided to either move on or drop out of the business because of the recent, you know, interest rate situation, right? But that's okay. And so what that means, it's actually worked out much, much, much better because there's no longer a third person involved in the loan process. And so Cliff's Notes version, JC will actually take the initial call from one of your clients. He will do the discovery phase, which is what are you looking for? What is your debt? What is your income? And talk through whether or not we can help them. Now, if we had loan officers, it would normally go from that to, okay, XYZ loan officer can now take it from here. So JC does not do that. JC is the point person throughout the entire transaction. Now, we have other financial people behind the scenes closing the loan and doing all of the number crunching and underwriting, but they never talk to your client. So JC always talks to your client and really is that person from start to finish. And I think it was a bit unexpected on our part that it's actually working out better that way for a number of reasons. But I just want you to know that there is no handoff. It's JC from beginning, middle to end. Now, for those of you that are new or those of you that have forgotten, we do have a tab on our website. And whenever I say our website, I always mean whiterocktexas.net. And if you go into the More tab, I have a tab for White Rock Lending Services. And it's here that we have put together collateral, not to mention a button that goes right to JC, but collateral for you to give your clients and to maybe have at open houses. Okay, they are, you know, books for buyers. They are a flyer for who White Rock Lending Services is. A ton of different stuff. Okay, so please don't forget that that is there. And if all else fails, just either have yourself or your client reach out to JC. But anyway, that's.
Brad, I appreciate you sharing that. I did want to add one more thing that you reminded me of. I definitely want to be thought of not only a lender, but a resource, right? I've been doing this for a long, long time. And the goal is to get your buyer qualified. The goal is to get them into that house. So what does that mean? That means that if I can't do the deal, I know somebody who can. I can connect you to that person. I can connect you to that bank. I mean, I had a conversation with a person this morning, a real estate agent. And I said, man, you know what? They were on a certain timeline. And I said, you're going to have to go to XYZ bank, because if I took that deal on, it's going to take a little bit longer, just because there was so much more involved. Right. And sometimes it's private money. Those deals close a little bit faster. So anyway, I just want to share that with you. I want to be a resource. I mean, I get it. I don't expect to get every single one of your deals. I don't expect that at all, but I do want to be the resource. The goal here is to help White Rock Lending, White Rock Realty, help everybody's pocketbook. And I just want to help you and guide you and see if I can help you close that deal, whether with me or somebody else. That is all.
Awesome. Yeah, and as a reminder, about 30% or more of the agents that we have within the brokerage speak another language in addition to English, and JC is in that group. He does speak Spanish, so just FYI. All right. All right, so the content for today. We're going to review two things today, and they are not necessarily related at all. But I know that there's been a lot of talk about AI or artificial intelligence, and one of the companies leading the charge in that regard is a company called OpenAI, and they have a product that is free for right now called ChatGPT, and I'm going to run through what that can do for us. But first, I wanted to go through a little series that I'll call "Don't Be That Realtor," and I'm doing this at this point of the year for a couple of reasons. It's about to get busy, and we will undoubtedly be faced with someone that kind of fits these descriptors on the other side of the transaction, or we will be tempted to behave in some of these ways. And I think that the brokerage actually is a really good representation of the opposite of who I'm going to be speaking about today. But, and mind you, I could do an entire hour on just the experience of being on the other side of the transaction with someone like this. But the aim today is really to make us aware of what these personality traits are and really how the public perceives us. So let's jump in. So the public perception of realtors, and I'm just being real with you, all right, is that we are interchangeable, which means that you talk to one, you talk to all of them. There's no distinction from one realtor to another. They think that we're pushy. They think that we don't know a whole lot. They think that we lie or are intentionally deceptive. Now, in your mind's eye right now, you're already picturing someone that you know. All right, so that is not uncommon. And so in the context of who people consider in the world a quote unquote trusted professional, to them, we are junior varsity, okay, until we prove otherwise. Okay, so I'm sorry that that's the way it is, unfortunately. I knew that going in as well. Hopefully y'all did too. But I think it's because there are so many of us that it's easy to come across people that kind of fit these descriptions. And so the challenge is, well, what do we do about that? So and so lastly, in short, our value is always being questioned. Okay, our value is always being questioned. They always think that they can do a better job. They meaning the client, and we know better. But I'm just telling you that if you're in a room and you're the realtor and you're approaching people, they already have a preconceived notion about who you are. So why is this? Well, because a lot of them look like this, right? And so the average age of a realtor across the country is 56 years of age or better. And so what does that tell you? That, because I'm in that group, and that tells you that it's a lot of people's second act, right? Myself included. Nothing wrong with that. But with that demographic comes some baggage, right? So the average age is 56 or better. How many times has the business card looked like a supermodel and this is who shows up, right? A lot. And so for some, it's just a hobby. Some agents really don't assign a high level of importance to what we do. They don't treat it like a corporate America job, as an example. And some just don't take the time to acquire the knowledge needed to do the job right. And so, as you can imagine, I talk to a lot of brand new realtors, and the one commonality is that they all want to get started right now. And I get it, because they just came out of taking a really hard test and all the education and nose in a book that took them to that point, and they just kind of want to get started. The challenge is that phase two of that learning begins when you get your license. And so there are some agents that really don't devote the time needed to acquiring that knowledge. They want shortcuts. All right, so I've talked a lot about referrals. So it should be no wonder that over half of our transactions come from a trusted referral partner. So I've reviewed this before. And the standard or the metric usually never changes. It's either referral from another person or you've done business with that person before. So given what I've just said, it's no wonder that the general public is desperate for some trusted resource to tell them who's a good realtor, right? Because candidly, it's just too risky to call someone they don't know in our profession, right? So the choice is yours. You can be this person on the left, kind of lazy, not a real good image to project, or you could be this person, smile on her face, dressed appropriately. She looks like she's ready to help you. All right, so let's go through some of these characteristics that I hope that you can either relate to and hopefully never become. So the first is Sheila Show Off. And I've got some sound effects to go with these, so I hope you're entertained. So Sheila Show Off talks at you and not with you. Has to always prove how much they know, right? This oftentimes comes from a place of insecurity, right? They're trying to overcompensate for something. They always have to be the smartest person in the room, and oftentimes it's at the exclusion of their clients' needs. They are so busy showing off and proving how much they know that they exclude why they're there, which is to service the client. So the tip is that while it is important to be seen as the leader and to be seen as the person that is really driving this transaction and driving this process, you got to find ways to demonstrate your knowledge instead of telling other people about it. And so a good way is to show collaboration by including other people like inspectors, lenders, appraisers, to maybe a three-way conversation. All right, so this is the stay in your lane conversation. All right, because what this means is that we don't know it all, and we have to rely on a lot of other people to get a transaction closed. And don't feel obligated to be the expert in every aspect of a real estate transaction. In fact, it can be very detrimental if you do. And so how awesome would it be to call up a trusted business partner, again, lender, inspector, appraiser, plumber, electrician, whatever, and to have your client hear it from them. And that gives them a chance to ask the expert the questions and get the right answers, right? Because I think, myself included, we're so eager to please that we might overstep and say the wrong thing. So don't be a Sheila show off. The next person, Ira Inconsiderate. Ira Inconsiderate is late. They miss appointments. They're not responsive. Do you know that the single greatest complaint the general public has about realtors is that they're not responsive? And I'm sure you've experienced that as realtors on the other end of a transaction. They put their schedule above their clients. Oh, I don't take calls after 5, or that interferes with something. I don't work on X day or whatever. They are disorganized. All right, so listen, take it from me. You can have just gotten your license and you can have 0 experience, but you can always be organized. All right, so that means you can always dot your I's and cross your T's. And if you're ever wondering if you are doing things right, that's why I'm here, right? Every day, all day. So you can always make sure you have the right contracts. You can always make sure that the contracts you sent out are signed and executed. Don't be disorganized. Something's going to get missed. And then they tend to show frustration in front of their client, right? So a low emotional maturity. So the tip, I'm just being real with you, maybe you need to reconsider a career in real estate if you can't at least exhibit professional courtesy. Okay, I can't teach you to be on time. You just have to be on time. All right, so it is I'm sure you've come to the same conclusion as well, is that if you've entered into real estate from a corporate America job, I'm sure that you are at some point have been astounded at what people get away with, because they wouldn't last a second in corporate America. And a lot of these things fall into this Ira Inconsiderate category. Right, next is Vince the Value Vomiter. So I apologize for the imagery there. But Vince does this, constantly proving their value to a client, right? And again, this is because there are so many of us that I think that a lot of agents fear that they're going to do or say something that's going to jeopardize the transaction and cause them to be fired. You don't need to do that, right? But they are constantly trying to prove their value to a client. They will sometimes purposely derail a transaction just to prove their worth. Have you ever been in a transaction where it's already executed and you're marching down the way to the closing, and then all of a sudden the agent gets difficult? And they'll do things like, well, we refuse to sign this extension, or we refuse to sign a repair amendment. Or you can just picture them telling the client, well, watch this. I'm going to reach out to this agent and I'm going to get you an extra $1,500. Yeah, I mean, these things happen every day. And it's nothing more than the agent posturing in front of their client. And oftentimes, clients doesn't care. Clients not asking them to do this, but they're trying to puff out their chest and prove their value to the client. All right, and they're always pointing out how great they are and what they've done for their client. These are the folks that are typically posting on social media at midnight, bragging about how busy they are, right? Want to prove that value. They often talk about how valuable they are, but they rarely demonstrate it. Okay, client tries to get a hold of Vince and he's MIA, can't get a hold of Vince. The tip is, understand that in reality, you can rarely do or say anything that will change someone's mind about you. Just do your job and close the deal with as little dysfunction as possible. There is a fine line between proving your value and acting unethically. Okay, because in some of my examples, you're almost at that line. All right, so don't be Vince the Value Vomiter. All right, so Chatty Cathy, talks versus listens. Okay, this is, I can't hear you above your behavior, right? So they think that they know what's best for the client. They don't ask important questions, so they miss what the client really wants because they're too busy talking. They don't pick up on verbal and nonverbal clues from their client. So the tip is the contract, remember, never has your name on it. So we need to stop acting like it does. Okay, nowhere on the 1 to 4 or anything except a buyer's rep and a listing agreement do we sign anything. Okay, so ask lots of questions, then act on behalf of your client. Be hyper aware of what the client is and isn't telling you, and don't be afraid to say, so just to be sure I understand you, can I get some clarity on that last thing that you said? Okay, so don't be a chatty Cathy. All right, Sleazy Saul. Sells versus explains. These are typically transaction-focused agents, and the details don't matter. Just getting to that next closing is all that matters. Okay, so they come across as disingenuous because they're too busy giving a client the hard sell. Leaves a client feeling taken advantage of. Right? So it's much easier to just simply explain who you are and what your process is, and just let the client decide. So there's really no selling involved. So has anyone ever walked into a store and you're not there for half a second and the salesperson is just on you? Hey, welcome to so and so today. Can I help you today? What are you looking for today? Well, I'm over here if you just need me. And then 30 seconds later, are you doing okay? I mean, you just want to go home and take a shower, right? So this is realtors, and so again, they come to you with a set of criteria anyway with regards to what is going to make this relationship work out. And so it's a much easier conversation when you just kind of tell them what you have and kind of what your process is. And if it's a good fit for them, then it's a good fit for them. But the bonus is that it guarantees you're going to get the right client versus someone that's just saying yes to you. I mean, do you want someone just to say yes to you as a client just because you strong arm them into doing it? That is where lawsuits happen, because something's going to go wrong with that transaction, and it's going to get to a point where they say, well, my realtor told me I needed to do this, so I just did it. And so that's never fun, right? So the tip is that after speaking with your client and understanding what their needs are, explain only those ways in which you can assist them and let them decide whether to work with you or not. So instead of just telling them everything that you can help them with, listen to what they want and only speak to those things. And the same really applies for contract negotiations, right? So if you're in the middle of a contract and it's repair amendment time, or when is the closing date time, explain the facts to the client and what that impact might be, and just let the client decide. You don't want to ever hard sell them and say, well, you got to take this deal right now. This is the best you're going to get. You could say things like, well, it's typical for a realtor to ask for this. This is from where this is coming. This is how it could help you or hurt you. But I'm going to leave the decision up to you. Okay? Because again, our name is not on the contract. Okay, Ruby Right. This is my least favorite. They have to be right all the time. Regardless of the argument or situation, they have to win. And this creates ill will with clients and really serves to divide, right? So there's really two sides of this transaction, the buyer and seller. And you've already done your part in uniting the two. I just don't understand what having to be right serves, right? So clients don't feel heard. and some may feel bullied or, not seen or heard. And that's obviously not good either. And so, I ask myself, what's the point? What does it serve? And so in the immortal words of Elsa, got to let that go. If you feel yourself, if you hear somebody say something that you know is incorrect, as long as it's not material to the transaction, just let it go, right? Just let it go. All right, Bill the bully. Common, right? Way too aggressive, way too pushy. Bullies everyone in the transaction: client, other agent, title company, lender. And so eventually everyone just wants to be rid of this guy, and they will do and say anything to have that happen. And they want to intimidate everyone, right? And so my tip here is that there is nothing you can say that will make a client decide something any faster. In fact, it will probably do the opposite. So stick to the facts and just act accordingly, right? Leave emotion out of it. No one wants to be bullied. Enough said. Olga, overshare. Olga overshare is similar to Chatty Cathy because they want to tell their client everything about themselves and everything about everything. They have to tell the client about every detail of the transaction. And in doing so, they create needless worry by saying too much. Oh, this could happen, that could happen. Better be aware of that. Better be aware of this, right? Olga overshare. Tip: stick to the short segments of the transaction only, right? If you were in the first 7 days of a 7-day option period, let's not bring up appraisals and closing dates. Let's just stick to what's at hand, right? And I would use email to communicate and use bullet points only, just to keep a paper trail and just to keep it simple and short. Okay. Debbie don't share. Debbie don't share doesn't share enough about the transaction or what could happen. Maybe they feel intimidated by the client, and we've all been there, right? We're afraid to deliver bad news. I heard an expression years ago that I love, which is bad news does not get better with age, right? So they hold off, they kick that can down the road, and so in doing so, they create a lot of dysfunction in the situation. Right? They don't bring important dates or aspect about the transaction to the client's attention, sometimes ever, or when it's just simply too late. Right? Takes a lazy approach to communicating with the client. I think that sometimes realtors assume that a client knows more than they actually do. Okay? They're often the ones who have to be asked about follow-up. So God forbid your client ever reaches out to you and says, hey, do you remember when I asked you about this? Are there any updates? I mean, that's when you know that you should have gotten that task done sooner. All right, so the tip is know your contracts and the process better. Not sharing enough and where appropriate may get us all into trouble, right? So make sure that you're not over or under sharing. Okay, so before I go into ChatGPT, any comments or feedback on the personality traits that I've just outlined? No? Okay. All right. So on to this thing called artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. So what this is I'm going to take you to a website in a second. It's AI, or artificial intelligence. And it's a website that can streamline ordinary, repetitive, or mundane copywriting. Now, it can do a myriad of other things. It's brand new, in our business culture. There's tons of things you can do with it. I'm not going to review them all today, of course, but These are some of the things that I suggest that we can use this for. Social media posts, blogs, cold call emails, texts, newsletters, weekly emails or follow-ups, YouTube scripts, scripts for reels. So any of these things that if you ever have um, setbacks or just hesitation with regards to coming up with different content, this can be an absolute lifesaver. Okay, so here are some of the commands that you can put into Chat GPT. So before I get there, let's just go there. So I just opened up a Google search, and I'm just going to type a search for Chat GPT. And when you do that, the website that or the company that has this is called openai.com. I'm just going to go there. And when you get down here, you can just do try Chat GPT. And I've already signed in. You can just sign in with your Google account or Facebook, or you can create your own account. Doesn't matter. And this may be hard to see, but my cursor is blinking. And this is where you would type in a command. So for the sake of time, here is what I've typed in. All these different things. Okay, so let's take a look at what it popped up. Okay, the first one I typed in was write an engaging Facebook post about the Texas real estate market. And here's what it gave me. And this caught my eye because it inserted all these different little emojis. And so it says, hey, and so here's the deal. It's supposed to write this in a way that is, grammatically correct, eye-catching. Now notice I said write an engaging Facebook post about the Texas real estate market. So it says, hey there, fellow Texans, exclamation point. Are you keeping an eye on the red hot real estate market in the Lone Star State? That's right. Texas is currently one of the most exciting places to buy or sell a home with record-breaking sales and soaring prices. Whether you're looking for a cozy suburban house, a luxury apartment in the city, or a sprawling ranch in the countryside, there's something for everyone in this diverse and dynamic market. Let's skip down to the last paragraph. So what are you waiting for? Let's get moving and find your dream home or investment property in the vibrant and thriving Texas real estate market. Exploding star emoji. I love that, right? Because the last part is a call to action. Now you're posting this as a realtor, so they're putting two and two together, and this really becomes a pretty compelling social media post. Let's go to the next one. Write a short blog about 5 tips to get your home ready to sell. So it starts out by saying, selling your home can be an overwhelming and stressful experience, but with a little preparation and some smart strategies, you can increase your chances of a successful sale. Here are 5 tips to get your home ready to sell. And it goes down the list of 5 things. And then lastly, it says, by following these tips, you can help your home stand out in a competitive market and increase your chances of a successful sale. Okay, let's look at the next one. Property description. So I actually put in a command that says write a brief property description about, and then I put a property address. And this happens to be my next door neighbor's home. So this is where the accuracy and fair housing law check have to come into place. Because it says, welcome to 2500 Stanford Drive, a beautifully updated 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home located in the highly desirable area of Flower Mound. This charming property is situated on a spacious corner lot. It is not, by the way, so you got to proofread, with a well-manicured lawn and mature trees, creating excellent curb appeal. As you step inside, you'll notice the open concept, living space, and large windows that fill the room with natural light. And it goes on to outline various other things. Now, the thing that you have to be aware of is that it inserted this line lastly that said, located in a family-friendly neighborhood. I don't think it can say that. Okay, this home is just a short drive from excellent schools, shopping, dining. That is correct, but you gotta proofread things like this. So what I didn't tell you is that because the MLS has a character limitation, I specifically said no more than a certain amount of characters. So you're not going to run the risk of it being too long. Okay, so if you are at a loss for how to write a property description on a home that you may not be as familiar with, this can be a huge help. Okay, but please, please, please review it for fair housing language and things that might get it kicked back from the MLS. All right, let's talk demographics. So I said write a cold call email to a potential home seller that would appeal to someone between the ages of 35 to 55. Why? Because chances are this is their second home they're selling, their experience, and so it needs to be in the voice that would be easily receptive to someone in this age group. And so it went on to write this email. Right? As a local real estate agent, I specialize in helping homeowners in your area sell their homes quickly and for the best possible price. I noticed that your home is located in a highly sought after neighborhood and wanted to reach out to see if you might be interested in selling. Now, what I didn't like about this, you'll have to proofread this and edit this out. It goes on to say, as someone between the ages of 35 to 55, I understand that your time is valuable and you may have a busy schedule. So you obviously want to strike that out and tweak it to make it sound like your own voice as well. But can be a huge time saver. And so next is I asked it to write a YouTube script for a video that explains the benefits of hiring a realtor. So this is written as if it were a script. So it says, hello and welcome to our YouTube video on why you should hire a realtor when buying or selling a property. First and foremost, a realtor is a licensed professional who is trained and knowledgeable about the real estate market. They have access to exclusive resources such as the Multiple Listing Service, or MLS, which contains the most up-to-date and accurate information about properties that are for sale. Right? And then it goes on to describe other reasons why they should hire you. The point here is that for those of you that have not begun to use video but want to, but maybe stuck on what to say, here it is, right? And you can get as detailed or as general as you want. This is just a very general command that I put in, but you can make it however you want. So what I thought I would do is go to the application, and I'm just going to write 10 blog post ideas for real estate. Because you can do this too, right? If you are stuck on, if you have writer's block, create 10 blog post ideas for a real estate agent. Okay, as my kids say, IRL, in real life, here it goes. So here are your 10 suggestions. So this is how fast this comes up with this stuff. So now what would you do? Well, you're thinking, okay, well, these are great ideas, but how do I begin to tackle this? Well, you could actually put in, write a compelling, brief blog post on the subject of, and let's do top 10 questions ask your real estate agent. And here it is. It's going to go for a while, right? Because yeah, I gave him 10 to write. So, but here's your blog, right? Now, and I have to page down. But I mean, this is a huge time saver, right? Not only that, but it can kind of serve to get those creative juices flowing. If you want to, add or delete some content here, you're more than welcome to. And you can just kind of copy this, Control C, and then paste it in a blog or on a social media post, whatever. It is not copyrighted. That is abundantly clear in any of these AI applications. So, it's there for the taking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to research more on different websites on some interesting commands that you can put in there to kind of move your business along. But I thought this was pretty cool. There's a lot of different ways to use it, and I hope you found that beneficial. Is there anybody out there using this, or anybody have any comments about the application? You'll have to unmute if you do.
Yeah, Brad, I started using it around the holidays, and I haven't used it for real estate yet, but it's amazing. I mean, just playing with it's unreal how fast it can come up with good content. It is absolutely unreal. So
Yeah, for sure.
seeing your examples is really like motivated me to be like, man, I really need to get on this.
Yeah, the sky's the limit, and I get to a point where I'm overwhelmed with things like this and how much can actually do. And so, I think that as realtors, obviously we logically think about a marketing strategy, a social media strategy, our presence on the web, writing blogs, following up, doing cold call emails. And I mean, this can help with all of that. And if you're ever at a loss for, you sit down at your desk and you're not sure what to do with your business, well, this is a great tool.
And just taking some of the old scripts I've got and revamping them is
Yeah.
really, that's amazing, just to have some variety.
Yeah. So what I've seen someone do as well is they'll cut and paste content somewhere else, and they'll say, write this in a tone that fill in the blank. Right. So yeah, good point. Lorraine, did you have a question
Yeah,
or a comment?
I'm sure one of the ideas was the top renovations that help you sell the house. So where are they getting the data? I'm just pulling it in from the internet.
Yeah, so good point. So as you can imagine, there are millions and millions of posts and content and data points out there about whatever it is that you're putting in there. It's kind of similar to Google, where if you put in anything in Google, there's always a result. And so this is no different. And so it is what they call curating all the different possible responses from millions of different data points and websites across the web. So pretty powerful. All right. Anybody else?
Hey, and I will add in again, just be sure you guys double check what it writes, because I have had several things that I've written in with prompts and it comes back and I'm like, that's not right. That's not right.
Right.
Proofread everything it gives you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it's my tendency is to start high level and put in prompts like we just went through. But if you sit here long enough, you can really get very, very detailed. And if someone's written about it on the web, it's there. Now, I've joined some Facebook groups with ChatGPT, and I actually subscribe to another one called Jasper AI. And somebody has put in some very, very specific requests and prompts, and what it gets back is factually incorrect. And so, it's kind of like that old joke. Well, it must be on the internet, so if it's on the internet, it must be true. Well, not necessarily. So somewhere someone has posted something about that subject matter, but it doesn't mean it's factual. right? So everything that we do, I mean, today's context is really sales driven. And so, you know, while I guess someone could debate whether or not one of those top 10 things really do get your home sold, for the most part, you're probably good at posting it, right? But, you know, if you put in there, tell me how a combustion engine works, maybe there's some wiggle room there for some interpretation. But
Well, and I don't, speaking of the sales deal, I don't remember which AI it was. I don't think it was ChatGPT, but they might do it too. I had a prompt in there where I created an AI that was a, a homeowner that I wanted to get their home. And I had a conversation with them in text. And it was, I mean, they come up with all the roadblocks. They come up there, you know, you can kind of make it based on the prompt, how likely they want to sell. If you want to make it highly motivated, or, you know, somebody that doesn't want to move. And
Right.
for the agents, it can be really helpful to kind of get your words right, get your script in place, know how to tackle those obstacles.
Yep. Yep, for sure. For sure. Good deal. Well, anybody else have any other comments or questions?
So when it returns back information, are you able to tweak it yourself? Like if it's the top 10 and you say, hey, I only want to use the top 5, are you able to tweak it?
You are, yeah.
You know?
So if you just copy, I'm surprised, and maybe it has this, and I just don't see it. But the other one that I belong to actually has a copy function that you can copy what it just spit out. But in my example here, you can just highlight everything and copy it and paste it into like a Word document, and edit it from there.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
It's like a pretty good tool to use.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Good deal. All right. Well, so next week is our, I believe, our CE opportunity. It's going to be basic real estate law. I believe, at least that was the topic that was on the agenda. Presented by Allegiance Title. Make sure that you're, I mean, even if you don't want credit, I mean, show up. It's always great content. But otherwise, be on the lookout for some more suggestions on prompts for ChatGPT, and we'll just kind of continue to discuss that, and hopefully people will have some great stories to share on it. But anyway, you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'm here if you need me, and you guys take care. See you next time.